Hi everyone, I'm Katarina. I'm so grateful to have you here today, and I'm going to share how I made this really gorgeous special birthday card. So my card base is an 8 by 8 white heavyweight card base. This mirror cardstock, gold mirror cardstock, measures 7 and 3/4 by 7 and 3/4. The pink, it's a very pale pink paper, and this one measures a 7.5 by 7.5. And this next pattern paper is 7.25 by 7.25. And all my pattern papers today that you see me use will be from the Summer Florals paper pad by Chloe's Creative Cards. This next gold mirror cardstock measures 5.5 by 5.5. The pattern paper again from the same paper pad, 5.25 by 5.25, and this gorgeous pattern one, 5 by 5 inches. So to start layering up these papers and cardstocks, I'm going to add double-sided tape to the back of those that will be attached directly on top of the mirror cardstock. I prefer using double-sided tape or double-sided sticky sheets when I am attaching larger pieces of cardstocks on top of mirror or glitter cardstock, but you can use whatever adhesive you feel comfortable with. Once this is done, I'm going to start glittering up the edges, all of these gorgeous pattern papers. And I'm starting with the fine crystallina for both of my mats that will be sitting on the mirror cardstock. So the ones that I already attached my double-sided tape at the back to. So I'm just using my chisel glue tip pen all along the edges of the cardstock. You can see just a scrap piece of cardstock I'm using there as a guide. It helps me just keep those lines kind of straight, but don't have to. I don't always do this. It's just really optional. I just decided to do it this time. So again, the same thing on this pattern paper, just dragging my chisel glue tip pen around the four sides and dipping it into my fine crystalline glitter. For the next two layers, the ones that will be sitting on the top and we'll see most of, I am adding my chunky crystalline glitter too. So that's another lovely glitter to use. It's the same as the fine crystallina, only this one has much chunkier pieces to it, but it is the same translucency with all the same gorgeous color shining through it. So yeah, I really love using both of these glitters. I am constantly covered in glitter these days, so is my house and the kids and everyone else in the house. But I just can't help it. I know not everyone is a big fan of glitter, but I am. And these two glitters are definitely big favorites of mine. Once that's done, I just like to give them a little chance just for a couple of minutes, setting them aside to let that glue properly get tacky or dry to keep all the glitter that is going to stay on the cardstock. So now I'm just layering everything else off, and I'm using Collard glue as well as the double-sided tape that I had previously applied. The double-sided tape will ensure that everything stays put where I stick it down, and the Collard glue will help me make everything nice and sturdy. As I always say, it gives a really good quality feel to a finished project. Now it takes a little while for it to dry, but I think it is really worth the wait. So I'm just adding my last layer on top of this lovely pattern paper. It is a pale pink with some white flowers all over it. And then I'm going to prepare my next layers, and I'm going to again adhere my cardstock or paper, design paper, onto the mirror cardstock, and then again the lovely floral pattern paper on top of that. Once that's done, I'm going to raise this whole set on foam pads, and with this I will start giving lovely dimension to my card. So I'm just going to add it straight, just in like a square position in there. Sometimes I would go at an angle. Today I decided just to add it nice and straight. And now I'm going to show you how I created my elements to decorate this card. The Elegant Flower die set is part of the newest collection from Chloe's Creative Cards. I will leave a link in the description box below to where you can find these. And this die set has 6 flower petals. You can see 2 of each size, a large, medium and a small, and each one has that solid die and one that cuts out a lovely lacy like a filigree detail, and we also have a stamen. So what I did, I've cut out of white cardstock 2 of the solid ones and one of that filigree or lacy detail one. The two distress oxide inks I'm using here is Wild Honey and Warm Lipstick. And I'm adding the yellow in the middle of the flower and towards the end of the petals the pink. And where the two colors meet, it gives me that lovely orangey blend. I think these are gorgeous springy summery colors, and I really love the end result these will come out as. So I'm just going to add some of that pink, just the back of the petals as well. You'll not see that, but I don't want it to be stark white when I start forming these flowers. So I just like to add a little bit of a color at the back as well. And again, just blending those colors in a bit of an orangey blend. And I think these are turning out so gorgeous already, don't you think? What is your favorite colors to use on flowers? I would love to know. I really wanted to go with an orangey, pinky, yellowy feel for this card, and I think this just turned out perfect. So again, I forgot to add a little bit of a pink in there, so I'm just going to come back at the back again, because you could see there as I was pinching them up, the white was showing a little bit, and just not necessarily like that look, but this is obviously just quite optional. So once the three petals are ready, I picked out some of the glitters that I may or may not use, and I ended up going with Mexican Sunrise Sparklicious glitter. So I'm just adding dots and lines all over just one of these solid petal layers, and I'm just, you can see, going about halfway up that petal and just very randomly and just adding a bit of that gorgeous glitter. It is so stunning. It really, really goes well with the colors that I chose in there. And then the lacy detail, I really want to add some sparkle to as well, but I don't want to add anything chunky, anything that would cover up that lovely detail. So I just decided to use my fine crystalline. Now, as you can see, it is still white because that glue underneath is white still, but once it dries, it will dry completely clear, and all you're left with is some stunning sparkle in there. For the stamen, I went with gold mirror cardstock. I'm just going to press down in the middle just to add them a little bit of a dimension again. And using my hot glue, offsetting every single layer a little bit. Just be careful in here with the lacy detail, because obviously there are holes in there and you don't want to burn your finger if you're using hot glue. Now adding the stamen, and then I'm going to bring in the lovely sparklers, which Chloe has had on her website for a while now, but they are also included in the new collection. So if you're getting the full collection, this will be included in your box as well. They come in two sizes, 10 and 12 milliliters, and for this large one I'm going with the 12 milliliters one, but for the smaller flowers, as you'll see in a wee second, I used the smaller ones. So I made one of these, this was the larger one, and then I made 3 medium and one of the smaller flower, which I had prepared ahead of time. And now just to arrange which way I want these flowers to go, but we will come back to this a little bit later. Now I want to use my new Butterfly Dream stamp and die set, again part of that same collection. And this is stunning. 2 large butterfly stamps and 2 sentiment stamps with some coordinating dies. So there's the outline die and then a die that cuts lacy detail in it. 2 butterfly bodies, and then we have one for the sentiments as well, a little banner die. And I will not be using the lacy detail die today. I will be using the outline die and the stamp. So with the outline die, I cut out of white cardstock, but it has already double-sided sticky sheet on it. And I again use the same die to cut this out of heat-resistant acetate. And this is just of a scrap paper. I cut both of these butterflies out, and this will help me with the positioning when I'm going to stamp on top of my acetate. So I already prepared the smaller butterfly. Now I'm going to go with the bigger one. It's exactly the same process. So I'm just going to prepare my stamp because it's brand new and there could be oily residues left still from the factory, which would prevent it from stamping properly. So I just use my plain pencil rubber to remove any of that residue that may be there. So now it was easy for me to position that stamp into that exact place where it needs to go, because now I'm going to add my heat-resistant acetate in there, and I'm using my embossing body and my embossing ink pad on it, and I'm just going to stamp down on it, and I'm just going to make sure that I get a proper stamping, because I know that I might just get one go at this. That piece of acetate is not held down by magnets, so it will stick to my stamp now when I'm opening that door. And if I try to reposition it back onto its place now, I would leave my fingerprints on it, and that wouldn't work out very well with the heat embossing powder here. This way I'm now getting a proper clear image in there, and it is looking stunning. The embossing powder I'm using today is the polished gold superfine by Wow embossing powder, and it is gorgeous. It really is like polished gold. It's shiny, it's perfect. I really enjoy using this, and this is my second pot that I got from this embossing powder because I constantly use this. And I have already cut out the body of the butterflies as well, which again has double-sided sticky sheet attached to it. So this is the smaller butterfly I already prepared. You see, this one is yellow. I used the lemon drop sparklicious glitter on that one. And then here I was really thinking, should I go with a lemon drop for this large one as well, or should I go a different color? And eventually going back and forth between different shades of pinks and yellows in here, I decided to go for this larger one actually with the Mexican Sunrise. It's the same glitter that I used to add to my flowers. You can see I'm contemplating one of those pinks, and then I'm gonna bring in a darker pink, but it just looks a bit too dark. And I eventually settled with the Mexican Sunrise, which to be honest I was so happy with that I went with that one. The card turns out just gorgeous. Sometimes it's so frustrating that I cannot show you the real sparkle and shine on camera that is on these cards, because in real life they are just magic. So in here I'm just adding the body of the butterfly, attaching it to it. Now those wings are all sticky because I have removed the backing of the double-sided sticky sheet, but I didn't want this glitter to stuck to the body of the butterfly, so that's why I have not removed the sticky backing from that one just yet. It's only the wings and the antennas that I wanted to cover with this gorgeous glitter. And the reason I needed that body to be sticky at this point, because I'm going to attach my acetate to that part, so the acetate wings that we've heat embossed there. So I'm removing the backing on this, and I'm just going to layer these butterflies up on top of each other. And now I don't want the body to be just plain white, but I didn't necessarily want to add some colors. So I'm just using my dry clear glue and my crystalline glitter in here. So now the body looks pretty white still, and it will look for a while until that glue dries. Once it dries back, it will give that body just some lovely subtle sparkle. To shape my butterfly wings, I'm just using, I think it's like a pokey tool. You can use a pen, a pencil, anything really that helps you curve those wings a little bit. This is heavyweight 300 GSM white cardstock, so it will pretty much stay in the shape that I'm putting it into now. How gorgeous is it? And I'm going to show you the two butterflies together. And now this can go on my card. Now, it took me quite a while to decide on a arrangement. I even thought of maybe not using the two of them, but then I said that would be a very silly idea. I put so much work into them, and I loved both of those on this card. It was a very hard choice to choose which one I would use. These pre-foiled acetate sheets are amazing. Again, parts of the same new collection, but you can also obviously buy any of these elements separately as well. So these acetate sheets come in a pack of 12. And they are all different designs in golds and in silvers. Today I'm using golds. You don't only have foliage, there's flowers, there's butterflies, there's so many things on these. Now, I love heat embossing on acetate, but this just definitely makes your job a little bit easier and faster sometimes. All I had to do is fussy cut, and I've fussy cut a lot of these out, you'll see in a minute. And on the underside, so not on the gold side, this is silver on the underside, I'm adding my dry clear glue, and I'm going to bring in some Stardust green glitter, which I got around Christmas time. I think it was Christmas time, yeah. And it's a lovely, pretty super sparkle glitter. Now you can see how white it is, but once that glue dries back, let me show you one that I prepared ahead of time, and it had time to dry. Look at that gorgeous sparkle coming, and still can see every single detail on those foliage, because obviously we put the glue and the glitter underneath. How beautiful is that? So for some different type of foliage, I use different glitter. And this is the Mint Crisp, just to add some different green again into my arrangements. And can I say, these acetate shades with the foliage are jam-packed. I've cut out so many of those and there's still plenty left on that same shade. So this is a great alternative to heat embossing on acetate. For my sentiment, I chose to use the verse from the fabulous floral frame stamp and die set. And this one says, hope lots of lovely surprises are coming your way to make your birthday a lovely day. And I am going to stamp and heat emboss this just on white cardstock. And I used the 6x6 decorative circles to frame it, and I was checking if it would fit into this circle in there, and it just about fits. It's a quite tight fit, but just about fits. So it took me a while to figure out whether one of those letters will be hanging off or not, but I managed to fit it just perfectly. So I'm going to do the same thing as I've done with the butterflies earlier, and I'm going to cut it out from a larger piece of scrap cardstock. And I'm going to use the negative space to help me position the circle that I will need to stamp my sentiment on. You can see how the decorative circle in there on the top right corner I cut out of gold mirror cardstock. So I'm going to put in the negative piece in here, which I'm holding down with my magnets. I'm positioning my stamp in the middle of that, picking it up with my stamp positioner. And this is, by the way, the Creative Craft Products one. From Craft Stash, and now I've put the circle back in the middle where I cut it out of. So this is a great technique to use for stamping if you're stamping on a small surface like this, which does not have enough room to hold it down with the magnets. Now I'm using the same Wow embossing powder, the polished gold I used earlier on my butterflies, to heat emboss this sentiment, and I'm going to use my Wow heat embossing tool on the larger setting. To be honest, I use larger setting for most of the things. I think maybe a handful of times I would have used the lower one, and I heat emboss a lot. I heat emboss probably with every crafting I do because I just love it. It's just magical, honestly. It never fails to amaze me. So now I'm just going to glue this on top of that gold decorative frame in there. And in here I'm just playing about with the positioning. Do I want it in the middle? Do I want it on the right corner, on the upper right corner? And I will go eventually with that upper right corner, but this took me quite a while to decide. So I'm just using my hot glue to add all the elements, flowers first of all, and then you can see all the different foliage that I had prepared with glitter, and some of them I just left gold, so I didn't add any glitter to those. You'll see I will be adding them in a little bit later. So in here I just glued the cardstock on top of the frame, gold frame, and set it aside to dry. Because I used liquid glue, I do want to give it a good time to dry before I start maneuvering it in here. So you can see that's foliage there, for example, I just tucked in, does not have any green glitter on it, just nice and gold. And I thought it was a lovely variation to add to this card because there's some gold in the background too, and it kind of makes everything nice and matchy-matchy. I absolutely love how this card is turning out. It's just gorgeous. This collection from Chloe is truly stunning. I can see myself coming back to use this time and time again because I just can't get enough of it, and there's so many other elements in this collection that I haven't even touched yet, so I just look forward to exploring all of these. And the foiled elements on the acetate were an absolutely genius idea. They are just so fab. They really are, and I love heat embossing on acetate anyway, but these are just going to give different options again in crafting. So yeah, I am really excited about these. So in here I'm just playing about what way to arrange these, and I go with this kind of arrangement in here, and I'm going to add some double-sided foam pads, and I doubled them up behind the sentiment. You will see I'll come back and I will tuck some more of those foam pads underneath in a little minute, but that foliage was in my way, so I cut it off and then I glued it back underneath there. And then to glue down my butterflies, I'm only coming in with a bit of a hot glue just alongside underneath the body, but you can add a drop of glue under the wings, the end of the wings as well, so they will stay. But I'm not worried that they will flatten down. I don't think that will happen. They are very heavyweight cardstock. And I really wanted to add some pearls to this, but there was just no room. I over decorated this card so much that there was just no room for pearls in the corners. So instead I decided to add some lovely little shine by using the floral sequins from Chloe's Creative Cards again. And these come in the shades of yellows and oranges and pale pinks, and I think they were just the perfect match for this card. So I'm just adding them here and there, scattering them all over my card, and this is how I'm going to finish this card off. I think it turned out just stunning. So gave this card for my colleague in work. It was her birthday, and she really loved this card, and so did everyone else that's seen it. Honestly, just full of sparkle, and again, so frustrating that I cannot show you how truly gorgeous this is, but I will add some close-ups at the end of this video for you to check out. I really hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and if you did, please do not forget to like the video and comment in the section below. I really would love to have you subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet done so, and please do not forget to hit the notification bell to make sure you will get notified when I upload new videos, so you won't miss out. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today, and for all the lovely support and all the new subscribers that I've been getting lately. It really warms my heart, and it makes all of this really, really worth it. So thank you so much, and I really hope to see you soon with my next tutorial or next project share. See you then. Bye!